The entire world seems to be working toward one single deadline, 2030. It's the finish line for all of our biggest goals. But what if that finish line isn't a finish line at all? What if it's a mirage? Today, we're going to explore a pretty wild idea that the most important date for our future might actually be 2 years earlier than anyone is planning for. I mean, think about it. From corporate net zero pledges all the way to huge government programs like Agenda 2030, we've all kind of collectively agreed that the end of this decade is the target. It's the date circled on every long-term planner's calendar. It's really become this psychological anchor for where we're all headed. And that raises a really critical question, right? What if, by focusing so hard on 2030, we're all just sprinting full speed towards an economic event horizon that we just can't see coming? To really get why, you have to listen to people like Ray Kurzweil. This guy is Google's director of engineering, and he's one of the most accurate futurists alive. I'm talking an 86% success rate on nearly 150 predictions. And for years, he's been super explicit, setting the date for artificial general intelligence, or AGI, at 2029. So here's the crucial point. The economy doesn't just wait for the event to happen. Financial markets are basically forward-looking machines. They're always betting on the future. They will react a full 6 to 12 months before the singularity. So if AGI really arrives in 2029, the global repricing of every single asset on Earth, well, that happens in 2028. So what's really driving this crazy fast timeline? Well, it's not just one technology. We're actually witnessing something way more powerful, what we're calling a triple singularity, where 3 unstoppable forces are all set to collide at the exact same moment. Just try to picture it. You've got 3 separate exponential curves, AI, robotics, and this whole new economic reality, and they're all about to hit their vertical takeoff point at the same time. This convergence, it doesn't just add up, it multiplies. It creates the massive disruptive force that we're talking about today. Okay, let's break that down. So, step 1, AI gives us basically infinite intelligence, which makes solving almost any problem virtually free. Step 2, robotics gives that intelligence a physical body, creating essentially zero-cost labor. And then step 3, these 2 forces together trigger what's called deflationary economics, where the cost of goods and the value of human wages, they could just plummet at the same time. The outcome of this is just revolutionary. I mean, when you combine cheap, portable energy with these incredibly powerful AI brains, you've created an entirely new species of worker. And it's one that doesn't sleep, it doesn't unionize, and it operates for pennies on the dollar. And that leads us straight to the economic cliff. Now, I know what you might be thinking. We've been hearing fears about technology replacing jobs for centuries. But the argument here is that this time, the fundamental rules of the game have totally changed. For pretty much all of history, the Luddite fallacy was proven wrong because, yeah, technology killed old jobs, but it always created new, better ones. Automation got rid of the farmhand, but it created the factory worker. But see, that rule depended on a human's ability to learn the new skill. We've now hit what you could call the biological cap. You simply cannot retrain a human brain faster than a silicon chip can get an update. It's just not possible. And the timeline for this rollout is just shockingly fast. This year, 2024, it's all about these jaw-dropping prototypes we're seeing. By 2026, you're going to see major corporations running commercial pilots. But 2028, that is the critical year. That's the year of cost parity, the economic tipping point when it becomes undeniably, unquestionably cheaper to deploy a robot than to hire a human. And this is that tipping point. The math is suggesting that by 2028, the amortized cost of a humanoid robot will be somewhere around $3 an hour. Just think about that, $3 an hour. No minimum wage, no human worker anywhere on Earth can compete with that number. At that price, mass adoption isn't just a possibility, it's an economic certainty. So why not just stop? Why not regulate all this to protect the economy? Well, the answer is a classic prisoner's dilemma. As Vladimir Putin pointed out way back in 2017, the nation that leads in AI will lead the world. No country can afford to hit the pause button while its rivals are racing ahead. It's basically a suicide pact where the only way to survive is to run even faster towards the cliff. So if this automated future is pretty much inevitable, what does the world actually look like on the other side? Well, broadly speaking, there are three potential scenarios for a world where human labor just isn't the primary economic engine anymore. But before we get into those scenarios, we really have to understand the core problem. Our entire system of government is funded by taxing human labor. In the US, about half of all federal revenue comes from income taxes. So, what happens when unemployment spikes and that revenue stream just evaporates? Because, robots don't pay income tax. All right, so here are the paths. Scenario A is kind of the Star Trek utopia where everything becomes so cheap to produce that money is almost irrelevant. Scenario B is the Elysium dystopia, where all the wealth concentrates among the owners of the robots, creating this massive class divide. But the most likely near-term reality is probably Scenario C, the Great Friction, this chaotic war between technological deflation making things cheaper and government money printing making money worth less. So if that chaotic transition really is coming, how in the world do you navigate it? Well, the source material for this suggests a really fundamental shift in how we think, moving from being a seller of labor to becoming an owner of capital. For centuries, your economic value was tied to your time and your skills. But in this new economy, that value is rapidly approaching zero. The only way to really retain value is to shift your entire mindset from a seller of labor to an owner of productive assets. The logic here is, honestly, brutally simple. You cannot outwork or outhustle a machine that works 24/7 for $3 an hour. You just can't. So if you can't beat them, you have to own them. The only real hedge is to own a piece of that automated productivity, whether that's through stocks and AI companies or maybe eventually owning the robots themselves. And this all leads to this ultimate paradox, which Elon Musk highlighted perfectly. A system that's built on private ownership of capital, of the robots, might actually be the only viable path to a future of shared abundance, where the machines do all the work and we humans get to reap the benefits. For all of human history, economics has been the study of scarcity. We valued human labor and intelligence because they were scarce. But as we barrel towards 2028, both of those things are becoming infinite and practically free. So what do we value in a world like that? What becomes the new currency?